Would you like to have your own website without spending a dime on hosting or domains? In this video, we're going to see how to design a basic website using AI. You can design and host your site completely free without paying for complicated hosting or databases. Alright, let's get started. For our first part, we're going to create our website using a basic structure. For that, we're going to use Claude. Actually, I have another video here where I show 5 chatbots and how to design websites using artificial intelligence. Click here to watch more. Well, for this case, we're going to tell Claude to design a very simple HTML page for a coffee brand called Chili Sin Carne. Now, in this case, you can obviously change it according to what you need, whether it's a hair salon, a portfolio, or any service or product you offer. So here we indicate that everything should be on a single page with 3 sections. One section that says about us, another section showing coffee prices, and another for content. We click send, and here we can already see the basic result. Once we have our first result, we ask Claude to add our brand colors. For this, I'm going to use Adobe Color, where we can create or choose a color palette. Then we export this palette in CSS format and tell Claude to apply these colors to the design. Next, we ask it to add images to the template or placeholders to later replace them with real images. Well, at this point, we can already see a preview of our design. Obviously, if you're not happy with any section, you can simply tell it to change, for example, the content of the sections you want to edit. And that's how we finish this first part of the tutorial. Now let's see how to install a web server. For this part, we're going to use a program called WAMP, W-A-M-P, which stands for Windows, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. Basically, it turns your computer into a real web server. Let's go to this website and enter the download section. I'm going to put all the links in the description of this video. Here we download the version that corresponds to our operating system. This video is specifically for Windows. If you already have a Mac or Linux, I'm sure you can find a similar program. And while we download this program, I'm going to mention the advantages and disadvantages of having a local web server. Here are the advantages. You don't need an internet connection. You don't pay for hosting, and you can do quick tests if you're a website designer. Well, the disadvantages are you need constant maintenance. That means if you put up your website, you need to have your computer on 24 hours a day so people can access it. Also, some of the configurations can be complex in case you use databases or other applications within your website. In this case with WAMP, you can only run basic databases and in PHP language, for example for WordPress. It's perfect in this case. The other disadvantage is that if you want your site to be visible from outside, you'll have to configure your router and in some cases obtain special certificates. Well, here we now have our web server running on our computer. So, as we can see at the bottom next to the clock, we can see this icon showing that all services are running. And to test that it's running successfully, we're going to go to the folder where we installed this server. In most cases, it's installed on the C drive. And here we go to this folder called WAMP64. And inside there's a folder called www. When we go here, we can see there's an index.php file. And to test that it's running, we're gonna open a browser or navigator. In this case, I'm going to run Google Chrome, and here we put localhost and click send. And here we receive this page, which is the same PHP that we have inside this folder. This folder means this is our route to our website. And if this message appears, it means the web server is already running successfully. Alright, so now what we're going to do is create a folder called test. Well, so now we're going to copy the HTML code that Claude created for us. We paste it, and I'm going to open a notepad. In this case, I'm using this notepad that's a bit more professional called Notepad++. I recommend it because it also works to generate different type of files. As we can see here, it has a list of different encodings. And here we copy the code from Claude, paste it, and save it as index.html. That means now, once saved, we can go to the localhost folder /test. And here we're going to see our website running. That's how easy it is to create the page on your local computer. Well, and now the next step is a bit more complicated, which is how to upload it publicly so that everyone has access to your computer. Well, another thing, by doing this step, we're going to open some ports on our router. That's what I was saying, that it's one of the disadvantages of running a web server on your computer because you run the risk of being attacked by hackers. And by having an IP open to the public, you would run this risk. To find your IP address, go to Google and type, "What is my IP address?" It will give you the public IP address, which you need to copy. Now, click on the WAMP icon and select Apache from the drop-down menu. Select httpd.conf and a text editor will open. Well, here at the bottom, we have to search for directory and make sure it says this next to. Require that it's set to all granted so that anyone who enters can see the content. Then we need to find listen 80 and change the numeric value to your IP address. After that, look for server name and add your IP here. Now you'll have to disable your firewall or configure it somehow to allow incoming connections. For this example, I'll simply disable it. Next, you need to access your router. Find out what model you have. And then you can find the modem administrator IP by simply searching for the router name. In most cases, if you look behind the router, you can find the IP number, which will give you access to the network administrator, and you'll usually also find the username and password. To link a domain name to your IP address, you'll first need to have a domain name. If you don't have one, you can access this website noip.com, and here they'll give you a completely free domain. I won't explain that part in depth, but I'll also leave the site name in the description of this video. Once you have your domain ready and you're in your router's control panel, go to the port forwarding section and create a rule to forward port 80, which is the port your website uses. Also make sure your router allows incoming connections through port 80. After that, restart WAMP and type your IP address or the domain they gave you from the DNS service you registered with. And that's all for this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, activate the bell so you get notifications of the new videos I'll be making, and if you've made it this far, I recommend you watch this other video where I show how to make logos using artificial intelligence. Click here. See you next time. Bye bye!